Yay! Yay!
Yay! It's alive!
Well, meanwhile...
Well, that's because you guys are on the other side of the world. I mean, come on now. It's a globe. That's because you guys... Definitely.
Certainly, during the RTV, we had a massive load of info.
Well,
maybe that'll... Yes, I said too. Dum 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 dum
yes.
dum 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 dum.
People probably going, why in the world are we just being all quiet and stuff? But yeah, the huge info dump, and of course, we also had the Crytek lawsuit update, which is really nice and interesting.
Right. There we go. I should have sound now.
So.
And I'll put my headphones on so you don't get feedback. I've just realised.
So yeah, the Crytek update came out, and the judge basically went, no, to all of the complaints.
Oh yeah, and you have a very limited amount of time to come and actually give us real arguments.
Well, that was standard. That standard ability for them to come back is normal, and if they do that, then CIG haven't the same amount of time to then come back after that. So 21 days for Crytek from I think it was the 6th to come back with amended arguments, and then if they do, then CIG have 21 days to come back after that.
It seems a little crazy to me that it's literally taken 12 months. Like, it literally is that long. Like,
lawyers love it, I guess.
Yeah, it's insane.
I liked one of the points in the summary documents that said basically, Crytek had used other cases to back up their case where a more broad definition had been used. And the judge basically went, yes, this is true. These cases did use a broad definition. But this actually helps the defendant.
Yeah. But I think we can safely say, though, that this whole thing by Crytek has just been to try to drum up bad publicity and get a quick silencing payout or something of that description. It feels that way.
Or possibly even just build up their own publicity, just, hey, But
they're in a really bad way, though. Like, their game is a good game that they've got at the moment, which is Hunt Showdown. It's good. Like, if you haven't played it, I recommend you play it. It's quite good. As Battle Royale style games go, the best one, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not the biggest fan of Battle Royale, but it is easily the best. But
I refuse to, just on the simple grounds that it's Crytek.
Well,
let me finish.
Poisoning the well.
The reason why it's not going so well is there's too many Battle Royale games, in a nutshell. But yeah, say what you're going to say, Dyson. Sorry.
Well, yes, there's market saturation, but I think the biggest thing is they've really alienated a lot of people because there's all this publicity. Even if you're not a Star Citizen backer, if you just type in Crytek lawsuit, it's or Star Citizen lawsuit, I mean, there's a lot of people talking about it, and a lot of the lawyer YouTube channels, which a lot of different people watch, it's popping up on those. So it's not good publicity for them. And even if this game was a success, how many people are willing to actually partnership with them or work with them after they have burnt this type of bridge? Like,
yeah.
What do people in chat think about this? Is this something you guys saw coming? Because, like, to me, after the first kind of round of lawyer stuff went through, it seems like it was a given to me. So I'm just kind of curious. But while we wait for some feedback on that, should we talk a bit about the ships that we saw this week in RTV? Because I think that's kind of really what we're here for. So what is there any one specifically you want to start with, or do you just want to kind of go through the whole lot?
The Mighty Duck.
Yeah, okay. Let's get my least favorite out of the way first. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
890 feather duster.
Oh, it's now known as the Mighty Jump. Oh no! So what did I call it? I put it in Discord yesterday. It's now known as the Jumping Duck. That's it. The Jumping Duck.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a duck. It literally looks like a duck.
Mm-hmm.
If it looks like a duck,
maybe we should just call it the Quack, because the people that buy it are crazy, and it's crazy, and it just, anyway,
well,
it's a duck.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful ship. But the function, like when I heard the size of the pool, I'm like, are you really going to get to enjoy that? Like, it's filled full of space that has no functionality. Yes, there's gameplay that's going to be out there later. I'm just going to say that gameplay that for elites, but still, it's a really expensive ship that's not giving you anything functionality. Plus, it doesn't even come with two of the 85Xs.
Look,
That's
I actually think that was known from the very beginning that it wouldn't. It was always said to come with one, but it could always take two.
Yeah. Oh, that was just people wanting to be hopeful.
People had hopefully asked, and they were told, "We don't know yet." But
can you imagine if the Banu owners turned around and said, "Oh, I want one Defender with my Banu Defender," like with my Banu Matchmate? Can you see the people go, "Oh, you're freaking stupid! That thing was so cheap to begin with," and
yeah, CIG be like, "Hold it, that's like a fighter and a capital ship for less than a Andromeda."
250, and the Defender is probably worth 200. So.
What I think was the bigger question that people wanted, rather than do I get two 85Xs, was does it still take two 85Xs? Because if it could take two 85Xs, people were looking at it and saying that means I can put a 300 in it or a proper fighter in it. And so I think that was more behind that. Does it have space for two 85Xs? And that's been confirmed. So I think that's a good thing. So yeah.
It's still a overpriced Polaris doesn't actually have firepower.
It's got a med bay. and it is still the only capital ship we've got with a battle bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
that is
only
impressive.
ship. So it's got two bridges. The only ship that's got two bridges.
Yeah. It's and someone just mentioned in chat there, Neil Vexen actually mentioned it, just as I was thinking about it, so we're in the right frame of mind. John Kerr actually confirmed that a 300 will fit in it. So it's obviously a double cargo bay. It's just what is the best for that? And we all know if it sits, it fits. So, 85X times 2, you might get a Merlin in there instead, or a Nox, or a X1, or whatever. I don't think you'll get something like a Rover in there, though, and I mean that purely because you need a RAM.
Well, that's different.
Yeah.
Because you're not talking hangar, you're talking cargo bay. And it does have a lift that would go up to the cargo bay. So if you can get it on a cargo bay, if you can get it on the cargo lift, you can get it in. But the 85Xs go in the hangar, not at the cargo bay. There's two different things.
Well, either way, it's still a pretty ship.
Yeah. I've just got to turn off my aircon, sorry, and I didn't want to... I could do it. Hey, Google, turn off aircon.
You gotta turn off the aircon.
I didn't want her to talk back, but anyway.
She did, because she loves talking back to you.
Yeah, and you guys love talking to her when I have the speakers on.
That's true.
Yes.
Mate,
all the songs they try and play on me is...
Oh, yes. It drives them insane, and that's the reason we do it.
Anyway, I guess the next... What was the next... There's a lot of ships there to talk about. I think we'll go on the Carrick, because I own a Carrick, and I know you own a Carrick, and Algot owns a Carrick. Every second person I know owns a Carrick. But I think there's a few things that were really up in the air that they've cleared up. The first one for me is everyone was, there's this really big ship and they've made it smaller. And one of the things I was talking about to these guys today, and it was really obvious to me straight off the bat, and I think it was obvious to these two boys as well, is if you look at another ship like the Hammerhead that's just all corridors, they've essentially gone and removed all the shitty non-existent spaces in the ship. And that to me makes more sense. Yep. But the pivotal reason why it needed to get smaller, the smaller a ship is, the more pads it fits on, and therefore more places it can kind of go in the verse. Like something like a Reclaimer, it might only have 1 or 2 places in the entire solar system where that thing can go to land to sell its stuff. That is a real downside to that ship.
And that's why you'll need things like the hull A or the hull B or whatever to work in conjunction with a Reclaimer.
Some of those pilots will never see planets. They're just going to pull up a space station and then leave. Because the A will take all the stuff from the space station, or the whole A or whole B will be doing... And that's the downside to them. They're just going to be going up and down the whole time.
And that's honestly one of my concerns about the merchantmen, actually, when you think about it. Because merchantmen's growing in size.
Before we jump up the merchantmen, let's finish on the Carrick, because we've just tangented and now we're going to tangent again. So let's go back to the Carrick. We will talk about the Banu, though, because that is something we have to talk about.
Because we know you love it so much.
Yeah, and me too.
Yes.
And me 3, and Hay 4, and everyone else I know.
The other thing that I found interesting is the med bay. Now, the med bay, to me, it sounded like it was a top-tier med bay, the way John Crew described it, but you still have to go to hospital. Because even the way they described the Apollo, when they talked about that, they said it'll fix you, but it'll fix you enough to get you to hospital. And I think that makes the Carrick sound really awesome. If you've got the top-tier bed in that Carrick, and then you've only got 1, but you've only got 8 crew, that's going to be heaps.
Yeah. Well, the thing was that he did. I think in the question, the question was asked, "Is it a top tier?" And John Crew said he's not sure what tier it is, but it's certainly one that's going to make it that you don't have to keep going back to the hospital.
Yeah,
you just can't do like the customization of your character.
Yeah, you can't recustomize your character, so it's everything but.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be top tier, because if you're way out in the yonder and you get one of those accidents that you can't repair, you're dead. It's just that simple.
Well, I think what John Crew may have been hinting at is there's actually a higher tier than that. The 3 we've heard discussed so far, and that's that one that in the hospital you can do that facial reconstruction.
It might be that surgery ship we kind of theorized as well. There might be one that does it's like a boutique ship where you can go and change the way your character looks and stuff.
So that's one thing that he seemed to imply the Carrick won't do, but certainly one implied will be one to be able to resurrect you or kind of get you back from a near death, do a miracle max type routine on you.
Grim Jim 666 has stated in chat, looks pretty small to be a top tier. To me, it looked kind of large.
That looked like a great big CAT scan type system as well. That was huge.
Not to shit on 890 jump owners, but it looked like a master bed stuck into the side of the wall type of thing. Like it had that big...
And
it doesn't have to be too large. That's the thing.
What happened when you go... You're the X-ray person, Dyson. What are they? MRI machine. It almost looked like an MRI machine, didn't it?
Yeah.
It looked like an MRI machine.
And there were 2 beds beside it. There were 2 little...
Admittedly, MRI, don't get metal near it.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen
Terminator.
I saw what happened to that MRI machine.
So that Terminator that sick bay had the top tier bed plus 2 other beds beside it. That's a pretty big sick bay.
My only concern was in the pictures, it looked like the cargo bay shrunk slightly. I don't know if you guys saw that. That if you go look at that top-down image he had of all the different layers of before and after, it looks like the cargo has shrunk slightly to me. I'm
not really concerned about that, because as long as you can still fit a rover in there and a little bit of cargo for some repairs and stuff, it's not a cargo ship, and I'd much rather have it not only fit on smaller landing pads, but something people haven't talked about is speed. You can now have a ship that's actually faster getting point A to point B, because if it grew too large in size, you're going to be taking forever to get places already at its size. You don't want to have to take longer.
Neil Vixen in chat has said, look at the pictures of the Idris and the Carrick. It's pretty much the same Medbay area, and I'd have to agree with him on that as well. And it makes sense to me. If you're having a ship that's going out to the far reaches of space,
you want it to be able to
it's going to have the top of everything, otherwise you're dead. It's just that simple.
No.
And what was your guys' take on the Gangolius landing bay disappearing on the Carrick as well? I thought that was good. Myself,
I thought the key, I'll be honest, I couldn't remember the dangly, spider type landing bay that kind of went behind it like a squid.
I'm going to send you a picture.
I didn't really care.
I'm going to send you a picture.
But the thing that sold me on it was the fact that Congress said that landing bay would have taken so many assets in terms of just to spawn it. Having it internal means that you're saving all those.
Yeah, you're saving all the
animation
assets, and you've actually got to track every single separate piece as well. And that's the same problem. You know, when they're talking about the shield that goes over the screen, that's exactly the same problem. It's
the same problem I was talking about in terms of the cargo for the Hull C, because at the moment it's only those little boxes, and so that would crash the server just if you loaded a whole slew of thousands of those little boxes.
Well, I also think it's a more logical design. It seems to me like a type of design that is functional, makes sense, and has less room for error. And on a military style ship, it just makes more sense that they would go with, it's simple, it works, let's do this, instead of having something that has more room for failure. The one thing I was sitting here thinking about this ship is in the landing bay specifically. Are they to make it specifically so no other ships can fit there?
Sorry, I covered up your face there, Dyson.
It's really, okay. No one wants to see me.
Really quickly. There's the old.
Oh, the spindly legs.
Look how long they are and stuff. And those the back ones literally just fold sideways and kind of hang under the wing apparently.
Yep.
So they've changed it now, and it's more traditional, almost like everything else. So
I much prefer the shorter one. For several reasons. It means the ramp is going to be less of a ramp, so you can actually have hopefully less issues getting in. Yes. The legs on the spindly version look like a daddy long legs. Spider's legs.
You were saying
break them off.
Legs. I don't know why I heard landing pad in my head, and I was like, hold it.
Neil Vixian, you've just with what you're stating. The real kicker on resources is actually sending that stuff across the network, because every single vertice has to have as it moves, has to have that stuff sent across the network, and that's why it's such a huge problem. Because not only are they moving through space, they are also moving on the ship, and it's a huge issue. So
if you're hidden them,
yeah, and that's why they hide them. So the problem they're having with the one that comes out across the windows is obviously it has a lot of extra vertices and, as you call it, polygons coming across, and so they need to find a way to limit that. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they just don't do some kind of thing that hardens the glass, so it just like it's like a thing. Well, that's how I would do it. I would cheat. I would literally just have it so it somehow rock hardens the glass, like it's some kind of special technology that you can't see through it, but it hardens the shit out of the glass and then it fades it.
I'm thinking...
but the glass isn't supposed to be glass anyway.
Why don't they just go with that Tavaran-style technology and have like an opaque exterior and seeing through? Because like the Prowler.
We don't have glass anyway. It's transparent metal.
Or whatever they call it, yeah.
Whatever they call it, but it's not glass. It's not some form of.
I'm layman terming it.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. It is as strong as a hull.
Let's not forget how the new landing gear makes the shop look like an adorable wiener dog. It kind of does now I think about it. Like it's the way it sits down there. I could say that.
I have seen some amazing images of that on Spectrum. It's hilarious. Someone put like little like paws and everything on it, and
yeah. All right. So is there anything else you guys want to add on to the Carrick? I think the last little thing would probably be.
Well, the other thing you were talking about the cargo. I seen people complaining about the cargo being nerfed, but most of that cargo space on the Carrick was taken up by those 3 modular units. If you took 3 cargo pods, that's where you got almost your 21,000 from. I think they each were supposed to take 700.
Yeah,
in the old
they've
measurement,
slightly shrunk.
Right. So that's really it. I don't think there's.
I think more people are going to take the pods than take cargo anyway. Personally, like when you go out on a long range mission, you'll probably have 1 for cargo and the other 2 will be pods, and the cargo will be resources for you and you guys on the ship. They won't. It's not a cargo transporter. It's just.
Well, it shouldn't be a cargo transporter either, because if this was a cargo ship, it's the do-all ship at that point in time. You have a ship that can do cargo, that has good attack, that can carry small vessels, that has a med bay. I mean, if you had a ship like this that could be a pure cargo runner, why would you get anything else?
If you're using it as a pure cargo runner and you're just doing runs between Hurston and Lorville, Crusader and Lorville, it's a waste of a ship.
I do have a really quick question for Dyson that's just come back to me about the 890 jump. The engines on the back, are you happy with how they changed them to fit the 600i aesthetic or the Origin aesthetic?
I love the entire aesthetic. I actually really like that style that they have.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite style guides, oddly enough. But it's just impractical.
After the show, I got to talk to you about what we're buying him for Christmas, all right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a jersey for a hockey team, and I think you can guess the team.
But I do want to finish up on the Carrick, though. Like I was mentioning, was the fact that, and I would like your opinion on this. Do you think they're going to specifically limit the snub bay by designing it in such a way that it will not even fit another separate snub?
I think they're going to design it first and foremost for the Pisces, and if anything else fits, that's fine. But I don't think they're going to go out of the way to go, let's try and make, like if it needs an extra 30 centimeters to fit a 300i or whatever, they're not going to do that. They're just going to make it fit the Pisces because that is what it's need. I
think the question is, are they going to make some form of docking clamp snug fit like the Constellation has with its snub fighter?
Not quite like.
Or will it be big enough that it will, if it fits, it sits?
I think the landing bay is a thing that they're doing because they know that they're having issues with the Constellation in its docking stuff. Like, I think if everyone was happy, most people would be happy if they had some kind of docking ring and it just locked onto the ship and could warp. I think most people would have that because then you could have any ship you wanted. But ideally, like that Pisces, as we've talked about, so we even talked about it before the show. It is the ship that you send through the wormhole because the Carrick can't fit through the wormhole. It's that simple. So you can claim that you found it and take that data back and sell it and come back in something smaller like a DIR or whatever, and then go through the wormhole and explore the other side. It's designed so you can plant your flag, so to speak. That's all the Pisces is designed to do as far as I'm concerned.
And it'll be, it'll have a jump drive that'll enable it to do that. But I doubt that it would have a quantum.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll have a jump drive without quantum. I think it'll be one of the few ships in the game that'll like that.
Because it doesn't need quantum. It's not like a fighter that's like the P-52 that zips off and flies around, which I think.
I think it will probably have a fairly. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong. A fairly significant scanner suite on it. I don't think it'll have. I don't think if any, it'll have any guns. I think it'll be like what I envision is like a mini Terrapin. So it's really strong, but only enough to literally turn around and come back through the wormhole. It's not going to fight at all. It's going to send out a ping when it gets to the other side, collect a bunch of data, and come back. It's literally a probe.
Yeah, I reckon it'd have computer space or computer storage space. It'll have, the probe, the scanner suite, the jump drive.
Yep.
It needs to have, at least in my personal opinion, room for at least maybe 2 people, because that would really make it also unique. Like having someone being able to navigate the jump point while someone else is scanning and mapping it.
Well, again, it could just be one person. But I would personally like it to have 2. But I think you think the size of it. We're talking a Merlin-sized ship here.
85X.
We haven't.
Yeah, Execute's been hoping it's something the size of an 85X would fit because, you know, two-person. And it's very close. The 85X is not far off a Merlin. It's a little longer, a little wider, but it's shorter.
Yeah. You could possibly do it. I hope you're right. I really do. Because I would like to see two people. I think two people for an exploration craft makes sense to me. Like you said, one driving, one running the scans and stuff like that makes a lot of sense from a scientific perspective. Where if it's just one person, they're multitasking and they've got too much to do. And also when you get, like you said, going through a wormhole and potentially into a dangerous place. And
you don't want to be sitting there going, I'm scanning now, I'm scanning now. You want someone watching your six.
And if you have to choose between the two, you're going to choose to save yourself, and so you won't get that valuable data. So,
Well, one other thing that it might have, even if it doesn't have an extra person, it's probably going to be large enough to be able to drop a beacon.
Grim Jim says in chat, and it's interesting. I know what the response is going to be. Could you not use drones for this job? I don't think drones come with jump drives, but if they did, that would be sick.
And I
think you need a human.
Sorry, go on.
You need a human. There's some things you have to have a human. A computer's great for a lot of things, but you're going through a jump point that possibly is changing its layout, and I don't see a computer being able to navigate that as good as a person.
The drone, you send it through, you've still got to control it somehow. So I think you need a person. You need a person. You know, I 100% agree with you.
Madison brings up a thing here with so many possibilities for away team episodes. And I think that's another reason why the ship's so popular. It has that Star Trek...
it catches that Star Trek image.
I don't even want to call it. That vibe, I guess. It allows you to live out those fantasies, so to speak.
The exploration at the edge with your team. And the other thing is, if you look at its design...
Go where no man has gone before. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Firefly. It also looks like Serenity. And think about the size of it too.
I still don't see it as a Serenity, but you know,
I can see how people see it as Serenity, but I think Serenity is more. I actually get Serenity more from something like a Starfarer, where it's more of a junker industrial ship. That's kind of what Serenity was. It was a little cargo ship that a little merry band lived in. This is more of a upper class science vessel. It's not quite the same as Serenity for me, but I can see why you get that feeling though. But it's not quite Serenity in my thing. Serenity is more, as I said, the Starfarer, where they're going around and they've got a bit of cargo, they've got a bit of fuel, and they just go in between, and they don't get paid as much or something like that. But yeah.
Well, I see what you're saying, but I'm just saying the aesthetic looks, because it's big enough to hold a rover. It has that front bay, and then you move up to the second level where you have some R&R quarters separate. You have your living quarters. You have a decent med bay, because oddly enough, that ship had a pretty good-sized med bay. And you have a snub craft to go out. Yeah, it's smaller, but still.
I actually think if the Caterpillar wasn't as long as it is, I'd almost say the Caterpillar is the best choice.
Pick up at it.
Aesthetic. Yeah. Real quick question here in chat: the height of the bay. So this is they're talking about the Carrick bay here. How does it compare to the 85X height? The Merlin is super short. Now you guys were talking about that before the show, and you said
85X is shorter by 0.6 meters.
So
the Merlin is 2.6 meters. The 85X is 2.
Is it wider? Is the 85X wider?
But the 85X is wider and it's a meter longer.
Oh, okay. So it might not fit in the Carrick.
Yeah, so the 85X is 2.6, was it?
If you look at them side to side, they're so close that I seriously think that there's a chance, because they have to give enough room extra so you have room for landing proper. Without having to be perfect.
People have said things about having folded up wings, though. The actual one for the Carrick actually has a lid, like a roller door that goes over it too. So if the wings go up, I don't think you could fit something like a Mustang or an Arrow in it, if people are curious about that, because the wings go too high.
Yeah.
Someone's mentioning here, and though about Luke's mentioning, if the Sen's wings, so he's talking about Reliant, wings fold up, that could be a tiny ship. It's actually interesting he mentions that, because back in the original concepts, they did. They actually folded up, and it landed sideways like that. Oh well, it landed with the wings up like that. But they changed it.
But the Reliant is in such a. I've said to you guys, the Constellation's in a bad place.
Yeah. Well, that's sorry. I was doing a what do you call it?
The Reliant is in the bin.
Yeah. It has some serious issues, and I don't know how they're going to fix them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Like in my book, that back part that's currently, what is it, this wide, it needs to be like double, and I'd almost move the engines from where they are right to the end of the wings. That's where I'd go, and that way you could just have this really big wide section, and depending what they need to fit in there, they can just make that wider as soon as they need to. Then,
so a flying wing,
yeah, and have the wing no. So I'll do it in a way you'll understand. So if this is the back part, right, I'll turn around so it's not reflective. That's the back part, and the wing kind of goes around it like this. And currently, this part rotates like this. If you actually move the engines that are kind of currently at the moment just either side of this square, if you move them right up to the top of the wing, that allows you to make this as wide as you need it to be, and rotate. Because you can actually eat into the ship, so to speak, or you can make the ship flat and curve around that square. So they could actually essentially widen that as wide as it needs to be to fit all the stuff they need to fit in it, and also it allow for the Sen, the Mako, and the Tanner's probably the one that could probably stay as small as the core. But that Sen, I just don't see how you're going to fit a lab in that back. Like, you walk in the back of it at the moment, it holds 8 cargo boxes. It's like, how do you fit a bed and a lab in that? Like, what is it? Is it a little telescope? He sits on a box and sits there on a fold-up chair, and that's his lab.
It's like that hobby lab. It's like that little kid science kit. Yeah, you just open up with a small microscope and call it a day.
I think of a lab. I think of the ones that we've seen on the outposts. The probably not as big, obviously, a bit more compact and with lots of compartments and stuff. But I'd still envision it being quite large, a lot larger than that little cargo room. And I think a lot of the cargo for the actual core variants could actually go out to the wings. I've said that multiple times. Why can't they have some kind of thing where it opens at the back and the boxes just go into the wings?
And you got a little crawl space to get pull them out.
Yeah,
it needs a larger rear anyway, because I think
I don't think it needs a rework. And the way he I'm talking about John Cree here, where he talked about reworks, and I can't remember the other one he talked about, but he was fixing it up or modifying or whatever he called it. Because to me, a rework is taking the original model and reworking it. To him, a rework is tossing the entire thing out and starting again. So I actually think if he takes the current model and they re-edit it, I think they can fix all the problems. I don't think it needs to be done from the ground up. But we'll have to see where that goes.
I personally think that it needs some major love and just a slight resizing in the back compartment, because not only would it carry more cargo, if you could fit a vehicle in there, that would be your entry-level ship that could carry a vehicle. Probably
too cheap for an entry-level vehicle one, to be honest. And you can actually get Noxes in the Avenger, so it's already cheaper than it anyway. The other option with the cargo type area at the back, instead of making it go sideways, is just make it ridiculously long like a train. But then when it lands, it's going to look weird, because you're going to have this like 3-pronged thing trying to land, and it's going to look weird. But that is the other really simple option, is just make it so that box at the back can go back further. But I think half the problem is the engines being so close to that. If they moved them out to the wings or further out, it would allow that box to be bigger. I think with a simple...
Of course, the downside of doing that, though, would be that's what gets shot off first. At the moment, the weapons get shot off first. Now the engines will get shot off first, and then
it doesn't have to go all the way to the end of the wings. Like at the moment, it's right in this, basically in the center. But if you moved it out, you can choose how far out you move it, but they need to work that out for themselves. And I'm sure
it's a ship I want to love, though, because I love the thrusters. I love the moving of it. It reminds me of B-Wing from Star Wars. I think it's a B-Wing.
Yep.
Yeah. It just has so much there that you just want to love, but it's not practical.
Nivex in chat says the Reliant is a lost cause. I don't think any ship is a lost cause. I just think that they need some love. And
I think the Reliant is, the idea of it's not a lost cause, but I think the current ship is.
Yeah, it needs a fix. And I think we can all safely say from what we've seen bad ships before that have become really good. And the example I'll give is a Cutlass. You know, so just give it time and it'll get fixed.
But
Hopefully.
the Cutlass also got
Speaking of fixes, we're going to move on to the Vanguard. Unless you guys have got anything else you want to say about.
Well, just
Go ahead.
against your Cutlass being fixed, I'll just say Constellation. The opposite's true. And I think the Phoenix is a classic example of that opposite being true.
I think they're kind of scrambling to try and fix that. So I'll put my wait and see hat on that one. Even little thing. Well, let's talk about that real briefly then. The Carrick, sorry, not the Carrick. The Constellation.
Constellation.
They mentioned that the cargo is now going to be what people were asking
shielded.
for. It's shielded, so it's not going to be hidden because the hidden is exclusively for the tourists. So, I do think some of the information, because it's Constellation, has been blurred between the different variants. That's kind of the feel I'm getting, but I could be wrong.
But even on the original documents, they talked about it being shielded, not hidden.
But you know as well as I, the older a ship is, the more shit gets promised out of context, or someone says something, and it was like they even talked about that on the show, like how the longer you wait for something, the better it is. So I'm quite happy to wait until the Banu to be the last ship done, because I know it'll be epic. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, can we go back to the Vanguard now, or do you still have more you want to say about that?
No, I think
the Phoenix we've talked to about to death. There's not really a lot we can add to that other than we can say needs a fix.
Hopefully, it needs major fixes, and I think
the Aquila needs a revisit too.
I do.
Look, I actually think that new midsection on the Phoenix, put that kind of that same design style, not necessarily the luxury aspect, but the living quarters and stuff on the Aquila. And it makes it a perfect explorer. Gives you that long range living quarters, gives you the entertainment area, gives you more space for your science exploration.
Maybe a small medical area, just like a patch up.
I think one of the other things for the Phoenix is I actually think that the woodwork, so to speak, needs to be carried out through the entire ship. I don't think it needs to be just that midsection. I think it needs to go right through. So I actually think that it needs that front section needs.
Well, you look at that. You look at the one they first put out, where it was ghastly in terms of the day, really bright and light and all the rest of it. But what helped really do it was the fact that the aesthetic went right from the pilot's seat through to the engine room. And there's an element where that just seemed to fit true. I did like on the Phoenix, so the way that the cargo bay was just more industrial, but not fancy.
Yep.
But
I've no problem with the cargo bay being industrial-esque, because even on really fine starliners, they're still like that. People realise they have to be functional over form, so that's totally fine. But
the living areas and the crew areas where people are working all the time, and that needs, I think that needs to be uplifted. The elevator they put in, I honestly was sitting there going, why isn't this some stairs that just folds up? Like it would be a far more elegant way to get into it. And if you look at it, there is a long diagonal stretch there. There must be a way to do that, and literally have it so you can go up. I don't know. I'm or even a spiral staircase. The old one of those. I just thought the lift was a little tacky. I don't know how else to put that. It didn't feel luxurious. They're asking for a premium for this stuff. It should feel premium. And at the moment, like I've said a few times, I actually think the Phoenix is worth less than a Taurus in terms of what you've got. Even with its two turrets and its possible point defense turret, we'll hopefully see. I still think the Taurus is better.
Turtle asks in chat. My Turtle Diaries asks, anyone try the free Lancer variants yet? And yes, as Neil started,
NDA.
Everyone's
NDA.
So we can't say anything about it. But honestly, let's be a little bit logical here. They are going to fly very similar to the current one at the current point, because there's no gameplay based around them. So they, other than the look of them, and you've probably already seen pictures, and I also don't think you've got long to wait. I reckon you've probably got a week to wait to PTU. The way things are going, it should be live by the 20th. That's usually the history of these
21st.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier and Paul Shelley was saying that he reckons the 21st, because you look at the calendar, 21st is Friday.
Yep.
And then you've got the weekend, then you've got Christmas, and they usually release it the last kind of working day before they go on break for Christmas.
They tend to force it out on the last day if they can.
So that way, everyone has a buggy mess to play over Christmas instead of something that's nice.
But then a couple of people come in after the weekend after Christmas or the week after Christmas and do a bunch of fixes. So what's happening.
But I imagine part of that works in their favour because they get just so much data coming in of all these crashes. They can actually see exactly where they are.
They get a lot of love too on Spectrum because they tend to release the names of the people that are staying, behind and stuff, and they get a lot of praise. So I think the praise does drive and motivate a lot of the CIG people, and that's good. I really like it.
Now you can go to the Vanguard.
Yeah, I'm just reading a bunch of stuff. Grey Matter 53 on. Oh, he's actually on Twitch. First time I've seen a Twitch person in a while. Can't believe they didn't even mention the Cutlass Blue. Yeah, that's true. I'm surprised we didn't hear anything about the red or blue because when the Cutlass was finished, he initially was going to go straight onto the Cutlass red and blue, but he never did. So,
but as I said, if there's no information on the ship, it means it's because they've got nothing new to add. And it's not on the roadmap. It's not in the future.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised that you don't have something like the red actually earlier on, just to test out basic medical gameplay.
I think the Apollo is going to be the test bed for that, or the Carrick. Actually, now I think about it, because the Carrick's already coming and it's got the med bay, and so is the Idris, so they might already use the pre-existing one.
Well, we know we're not going to get the Idris until after Squadron 42.
Yeah. So the other really quick thing I was going to mention, and I've totally been sidetracked, is when we're talking about the red and blue. We've said this heaps and finally kind of really heard it out of Jared's mouth yesterday, was the longer a ship takes to get done, the better it's going to be because the more polished the pipeline gets. So if you've got a red and you've got a blue and you're a bit pissy because it's not out yet, just take that into account because like here's an example, the Retaliator, the first kind of big ship ever done, a bit of a buggy mess, and it's in a like...
It needs love.
It needs love, and they've kind of gone, not much we can do. Like, so the longer your ship takes to come out, the more happy I think you're going to be with it. I think a lot of people are going to be really pissy about the Retaliator until it gets fixed, and it's like,
unless they change the form of it, I don't think there's too much they can do.
I don't think they like. I think it. How do I say? I don't want to say thrown out. Like the externals don't need to be thrown out, but I think the internals need to be thrown out and redone. But it's like John Cruz said, when you're dealing with a ship that has two massive holes in it that are modular that can be taken out. So think through in your head. You have a large
figure eight
with two. Yeah, it is. It's a figure eight with two large things that you've got to take that are random. And what you've got left is a figure eight. What do you do with that? And that's what they've done. They've put the toilets down one side, and then basically because of that, you've got to walk, or you can only go up and down that one corridor because you can't go through the middle, and you can't go outside. So the only other way to be able to do it would be actually segment the ship into two parts that you can't leave. So if you're in the front part, you can't get to the back, and if you're at the back, you can't get to the front. So the only other option would be to make it a crawl space ship, where you actually have to crawl from the front to the back.
Well, that would fit with the old bomb. The idea they had of it being a bomber or a
that's
sub,
what the Vanguard was meant to be, and it was the whole reason I brought it, and the whole reason I milded it, because they got rid of it. Yeah. So let's move on. So just remember that part I said. So sorry, go Dice. Something you want to say?
Before you leave, I want to say easiest thing to fix the Retaliator, in my opinion, turret linking. Just have two spots and link the guns to that.
Yep.
And have two people working together with linked guns.
You could remote control the back ones, and then that's where the sleeping quarters and that could be at the back.
I could even see putting the engineering section at the back of a ship.
Yep.
I actually like the way
the engines, and where the engineering station is, you put your two remote gunners.
Yep, I can see all that. Yeah. They're all possibilities. I don't think they want to go away from what they've pre-established, so they don't want to add remote turrets to ships and stuff like that. That's just the feeling that I get.
It just makes more sense because they have to give a reason for you to take a Retaliator over multiple Eclipses, and that would lower the crew complement enough that you could justify it.
And the ships were built with the idea of doing World War II in space, doing the air war in space. And yet, even by the end of the war, you had bombers with linked remote turrets, where you could actually have 2 or 3 turrets able to get the beat on a single target with one gunner controlling them. So it's not outside of what was doable then. So why is it not doable 900 years in the future?
Just a quick note. When we were talking about the medical gameplay on the Carrick, Luke pointed out that the 890 jump also has the med base. So we already have multiple ships that they'll test the med base on. Sorry, continue.
I just wanted to say, Turtle, I understand that they want to hire NPCs and it's part of game design, but there comes a point in time where you can hire the same number of NPCs in other ships that will end up doing more than the one large ship. Hence, you can carry multiple Eclipses with the same torpedo complement and some fighters to protect it, which will be way more effective than having one giant target that has to have still fighters.
All right. Well, answer Grey Man's question, and we're going to go on the Vanguard, because we've delayed the Vanguard photos. What do you guys think about the upcoming flight model in 3.5? Sorely fucking needed, is my response to that. And I think I'm waiting for it with bated breath, to be honest.
Even if it just does that little thing that John Crew mentioned about being able to have the different states of your ship, not just having landing mode, flight mode, but actually being able to have that contracted mode, with the wings folded up, but the landing gear still not in. That would be, but landing in not out. That would be a bonus as well. Just giving you more variety of how you use your ships and deploy them.
Well, as far as the new flight model goes, it's going to be one of the things I'm looking forward to, because I like the idea of different ships handling differently. And there's really more style to it, instead of just saying, well, this ship is min-maxing. So you're going, oh, this ship has a small profile and has this firepower. This ship has a bigger profile and this firepower. So X ship is better than this ship. But having...
I'm looking forward to being able to get my Reclaimer out of atmosphere.
And the other thing would be the new flight model will make, or hopefully will make, a difference to the K2L. And, I've got a soft spot for that ship, of course.
I think the flight model changes and the release of the Defender will actually kind of show us where the Santoka AI will actually sit. I don't think you can do that until you've seen the flight model changes and what the Defender is capable of, because then you can compare the
abilities of a Defender
and the K2L together, and you'll be able to go, what's roughly a step up from this?
Yeah.
And kind of at least ballpark it. But my take at the way at the moment is the Santoka AI is the best fighter in the game, purely fighter. But the Defender it's an escort Defender. That's what it is. And I don't think the Santoka AI will be any good for that, because it would have to sit in the ship and only come out when it's used. It can't just sit and patrol with it.
Based on your comments, Execute, I think my Defender's going to be called Pimp.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. All right, finally, Vanguard. We need to get on to the Vanguard. And then we'll get on the Banner, and we've got other ships to go as well. But all right, so Vanguard. What was your guys' thoughts on the widening of this? Using the Hoplite now really is the base model. So we've got a bigger back door. We've got a wider ship in general. We finally got to see that a lot of the ship isn't a waste of space. It's components, and that the components are actually redundant. So it's got 2 of everything. So 2.
Well, and that was one of the things they did sell it as.
Yep.
Having redundancy out the wazoo. Where you could blow wings off and they'd still come home, because it just had so many components that it could
Agrid,
draw on.
You need to kick that guy from chat, man. He just said go Gators.
Oh, don't you dare.
Man.
But
that's okay. The Gators are only a college football team.
Yeah. Only.
As far as going back to the Vanguard.
Yeah, sorry.
I have to say, though, as much as I like the fact that you have a bigger door instead of that annoying one to get through, I wish it was still the smaller vessel that it originally was, because longer range, but being able to actually be a little bit smaller so it can be a little bit more nimble is a big thing, especially because I love the design of the Vanguard's weapons. Its weapons aren't put on the wings, where Convergence it's going to take just a slight bit longer, but they're right up front, so when everything hits, everything hits.
Yep.
I thought little things like even whether the turret could be retractable, which was even addressed, where I said, look, we know, like they're saying with the missile pods in the wings, can we do it? We've got to wait and see. And I think that's the type of stuff that will come in with as they do their rework as well. But the main area of that rework is that pod and the back section, and I reckon it's an awesome change.
This is the only concern for me. Like the reason I brought the Vanguard was it was touted as, you know, I can't remember the ship from World War II, but it was touted to be that, and that was a crawl spaceship where it was confined and you had to crawl around and get to things and stuff like that. And now it seems to be being made even more of a large room ship. So that's kind of why I moved away from it. I like the idea of it being this long-range constricted spacecraft where it was real, minimalistic. And you crawled to get to the turrets, and you crawled to get to different areas. You know, your bed was basically this, you know, small little room where everything was confined. Yeah. And now they've kind of just filled the space as maximum as they can, and they've... But I prefer the large, the constriction idea. And
I actually think part of that move from that constricted space comes back to why they made the changes to the Mustang.
Yep.
And why they made the changes to the Avenger. You know, with the Avenger, you used to have that little crawl space you had to go through. It's the animations.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Need more animations, and if you can keep it so it's just be able to walk in, it's a lot easier. It keeps it easy, reduces assets, and all the other stuff you need to do.
Creates camera problems when you move down as well. All that type of things. Yeah, no, 100% know why they did it.
Yeah.
But I was sold on that constricted space.
But you like the old constricted space idea, and you wish it was there. But yeah, I think some changes you understand.
Everyone happy.
Some changes you know why they made them. Other changes you go, what beat were you thinking of?
Yeah.
And
and it's like John Crew said when he was talking about one of the particular ships. He said you make one change. He was talking about making racing ships also interdiction ships, and a lot of people would be annoyed. Half the people were like, awesome, because I can use it for two things. And then you get the other half of people like, no, I only want it to do this. So
it wasn't his preferred, as he was saying, his preferred was to have them as separate.
I agree.
And I think...
Why, if a ship has already got a niche role, why give it the role of another ship and diminish the other ship's role? I don't agree with that. And if you want racing ship... You
get a racing ship.
Yep. I think they, in my opinion, when Dyson was talking about performance of racing ships, they're a premium ship in my book. You're paying for premium parts so it can go premium speed.
And I've always struggled with the idea. I buy this racing ship with premium parts, and I fly it all through the galaxy to get it to places. I've never seen racing cars be driven on the road normally to get to places.
Well, that's because you have speed limits and stuff like that. There's no.
But you know, you still prefer to cart them to where you want them to go because you don't want to put the wear and tear on the engine. You know,
we're getting off topic again, but that's okay.
I just want to say on performance, though, my big concern with the new flight model: how is the Vanguard actually going to handle it? It seems to me like this huge, bulky ship that's just gonna not really exceed at being a good fighter.
I think it will handle the way the hoplite handles, because they haven't said they're making it wider than the hoplite. They're using the hoplite as a base.
I agree with that. I agree with that. It makes total sense. I often question the other thing that was interesting is they validated exactly when we were talking about I think it was on the Valkyrie episode. I said it made sense to me that they took the Redeemer. The Redeemer didn't work. They invented the hoplite. The hoplite was too small, so they made the Valkyrie. And
that's exactly what I said.
John Crew said it was to a T what they did. it kind of was very validating for me personally to hear him say that. But getting back to the actual hoplite, I 100% agree with you. I think the other Vanguards will maneuver much the same. And the only other parts to add to that is obviously the gameplay that the Sentinel adds, and they added extra torpedoes to the Harbinger because it's definitely going to need it, because they're not big enough. And a lot of the time, the only real difference between the Harbinger and the Gladiator is the fact that the Harbinger can go so much further to deliver its payload. It's more in line with a long range bomber, because the Gladiator is only going to be able to do the
short range.
The short range stuff, where this can, you imagine a couple of these going off together in a really long range to hit a target that they think they're safe because they're in a really safe sector of space. And I can just see that being picked for very niche missions. But put it this way, I don't see it happening in everyday fights, because you would take the Gladiator over this purely based because it's cheaper, and you can have more of them.
And you can also fit them into a Idris easily instead of...
Yeah. So I think the Harbinger falls into a random niche category. I think the Sentinel will be useful for the exploration, and I think a lot of people will really love the Sentinel. I think the Sentinel will probably be the main one that we see because of the E-Warfare. The only other E-Warfare ship we really have at the moment is the Herald. So I think there's room there for a bigger E-Warfare ship, and I'm talking Constellation-esque size. I don't know. I don't know how well that'll work. Like,
I wouldn't mind seeing them do an E-Warfare Constellation something just to try and redeem what they've done to the Constellation line.
Well, it would actually make sense, because you take the Phoenix, you remove the luxury element of it, you keep that top deck. You have the crew quarters up front, you go to the back deck, and then back there you could have everything from EMP generators to computer cores to command stations.
Remember last year when we were doing a stream, I think it would have been January, and you talked about a Drake ship that was kind of like a hacking ship? I see Drake doing another one. Just for a quick in chat, you guys are talking about the Hoplite being the base variants. That's what they said yesterday on the show. It's going to be the model they use going forward to model the new ones, because it's slightly wider, and therefore everything else will get wider stuff.
Yeah. So and you look at the forums, people often complained about that narrow door, and now that's the one thing. That's one of the things that using the Hoplite as the base changes. Every one of them has that wider door, which is easier to access. You don't have to try and get your troops out in single file, or it's just an easier.
That ramp is really designed for easy access, and it's really good for a troop carrier. But on a long range fighter, it's redundant because you're in there for such a long period of time. I actually think that the Hoplite should keep the ramp, and the others should basically get like a small ladder or something like that, and basically then that back section, which you wouldn't need, could be used for components. So you could actually have it so you could walk over the door, and then there's, even if it's just one side or even just the back where you could access a bunch of components, would be far better than keeping that ramp. There's no reason to take cargo. There's no reason to take cargo in and out. The only reason at all is the quick in and out access, and it's a long range fighter. You don't need quick access. So the only one that needs it is the Hoplite.
I would like to say though, the ability just to carry one SEU of cargo makes that actually really good for those. Like, go retrieve this box after you fight this.
Again, it's a fighter. It's not a cargo ship. You've got to pick and choose your battles. And unfortunately, everyone wants every ship to be able to do everything. And in a game, you can't have that. That's why the Valkyrie doesn't take cargo. In a complete nutshell. It takes a shit ton of vehicles, and it doesn't take any cargo. But they designed it to be... like, that's why I question things like the Hercules now. Because why would you get a Hercules when you could get this and it does 2 rolls? Because... again, it doesn't have cargo. If they'd given cargo to the Valkyrie, the Hercules would be stuffed.
Well, you still have the ability to fit tanks in it.
Yes, that too.
That, like, you're not going to fit tanks in anything else.
So. Really quickly, while going over tanks, no tank until they mentioned that for a while. Probably a single artist will jump on that and get to work on that. So, I'm not going to see that. Is there any other ships that are coming to mind for you guys that they mentioned yesterday?
The Prowler. They didn't say it was near the end, but they didn't say it was necessarily soon. It's making me wonder: is that going to make an appearance in Squadron 42?
I think in a weird way they kind of do let their hands go a little bit, because they said that Elwyn and that would be working on it at LA. Now, we also know that they only have the schedule for like the next 6 months. So it either means it's coming after that 6 months, because if they know that he's going to be working on it, it has to be after that 6 months. So I reckon they'll start working on that late next year.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that is something that's in 3.7.
There's another ship I want to talk about. Have you finished with the Prowler, or is there anything you want to add?
I just wanted to say, no, I'm actually speculating that there's a good possibility that it's going to be coming not too far with maybe Squadron 42, because it just makes sense to have a stealth ship like that for at least a stealth mission.
I'm not going to... How do I put this? I don't agree, because I think I've got a feeling at this year's holiday live stream, I only think it's a year away. With the little rumours that we've heard of Sandy dropping 2 Citizen Cons next year, I think we might see the release, if not the alpha, only the alpha of Squadron 42 at Christmas time next year.
I don't see them doing an alpha personally, just because it's like, that's like saying, oh, we have a story mode. You're getting the story spoiled early.
They've mentioned previously, though, that they want to test it with Evo Cardi. So it'll probably go to Eva Cardi, and then it'll go to everyone else. The other way they could do it is they could test just the first couple of levels, and then once they get the bugs on that sorted, then they can release bigger stages. So that doesn't give away storyline.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, story wise, they're holding the Idris back for that entire purpose. I didn't just see them doing big.
Well, I think more for the Idris, because it's your home away from home. It is your...
They mentioned that all yesterday, didn't they?
And and you know, I think we've said it ourselves numerous times that they want that sense. You know, if you're a new pilot going to the ship for your first deployment, you're not going to know the ship. You shouldn't know the ship. So making it so you need to know the ship and learn the ship, and also meet up with the characters, meet up with a crew who are going to have the NPC relationships and everything else. They're going to be doing throughout the ship. So if you don't explore the ship because you know it, you're going to miss out on that.
I want to ask you guys, because you know how I feel about this. Like, I think this year as a whole was a bit slow for me. I found CitizenCon a little bit of a letdown, purely based on the fact that they talked about all the stuff coming at CitizenCon for 6 months, and then they kind of just showed us it all. Other than seeing Louisville for the first time, there wasn't that same wow factor there'd been in previous years. I hadn't got goosebumps. I even talked to you guys about that, and then I said the first time I've got goosebumps in almost 12 months is when I saw the Art of the Defender a couple of weeks ago. So I'm hoping I get my goosebumps in the next week or so when we see this holiday live stream, because I got a feeling they're going to obviously show more of Squadron 42. They're either going to show us another mission or something of that nature. I'm hoping. I'd be happy with another mission. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Well,
but I'm also hoping for an announcement where they go, yeah, we're hoping to have it out within 12 months.
Well, hopefully they'll at least give us that roadmap, which we've been.
I think that's coming. I hope you're
right. You know, so yeah.
So, is that what you guys are hoping? Are you guys hoping for anything from the holiday live stream or not?
I'm hoping Titan suits. They showed a long time ago Titan suits. Where are the Titan suits?
Well, based on the information they gave us yesterday, if we don't talk about it, it's because we've got no new information on it and it's not being worked on currently. So that's your answer. Officially. Well, based on the stream yesterday.
I'd like to say, though, based on the stream, they didn't mention that they're not ships that are going to be revealed later on for Squadron 42.
No, in fact, they said there are ships. So,
according to Grey Matter, the Lando mentioned there's no holiday live stream on Reddit and Discord.
Oh.
That'll be the first time I've had no holiday live stream. So
yeah,
that I
little
find
disappointed.
surprising. I didn't hear anything about that. I'll need to check
No,
that out
I haven't
myself.
heard anything about not having a holiday live stream.
I saw yesterday he said he would be going on vacation, but I don't
Yep.
remember him saying anything about there not being a holiday live stream.
Yeah, he said he's going on vacation for a month.
Yep.
And he also said, and there are other people who can.
Can you give us a
Still
link,
do it.
please, Grey Matter? That would be awesome if you could do so.
Yeah.
I'm just getting a link currently for Matt, who wanted to see the.
It was stated in concierge chat several times.
All right. Well, I need a link before I'll believe you.
Oh, he already recorded stuff. All right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, he said he's done the.
Oh, so it's a pre-recorded show. It's not. Yeah, that's what it was last year. That's fine.
I'm actually
cool with
rather
that.
happy with pre-recorded because the issue with live streams, you have all those problems and it just can go wrong quickly. But if you have a pre-recorded video, you can just go pop. Here you go.
He
and
said
iron
he
it
said
all
that
out.
he'd pre-recorded shows like asking all devs and
there's-
stuff.
There's the link, Matt. Sorry if you guys heard music in the background. That was just me playing the video. Anyway, yeah. Well, they didn't do live last year. They basically had a pre-recorded video that they played, and then after it came out, they had a pre-recorded video the next day that was kind of like a director's commentary with Chris Roberts and I think it might have been Sean Todd. Is that what it was? Oh,
Sean Tracy.
yeah, Sean Tracy and Todd Pappy. I think it might have been them, but it's been a while since I've seen it. So, yeah, look, I hope they show some good stuff. We'll leave it at that. Let's move on to a ship that I ended up buying at the sale this year, which was a Redeemer. I actually rebought the original game package for that. It's one of the few ships that are around the $200 mark that actually have a game package. I brought it back based on the fact that it is no longer a dropship and it is purely a gunship. And I think it's going to be really good in the fighting sense. Like, I actually think, you know, we've talked about the Hammerhead and we've talked about the Polaris and how if you had another Corvette-sized ship that was designed to take out those size ships, I see it as a mini Hammerhead. I see it as a small ship that's designed to take out fighters. But I think it might also go to toe-to-toe with a ship like, say, the Constellation and be able to outmaneuver it because of its size.
My issue is turret gameplay. Yeah, they have to fix that before I can get behind a gunship, because a ship that can bring guns to bear, but a little bit more Connie sized, that can take out that. Like, imagine something that has larger, like, anti-capital weapons that you can't aim at fighters but shoot that. That makes more sense to me than a gunship when you have turrets not working right now. Like, until you get that working, all gunship is going to do is just be, oh, cool, it has a lot of potential firepower, and it's going to be useless at its job.
Yeah. I think the main problem with the turrets at the moment is they're trying to, for some reason, to keep onto this World War II aesthetic, and I think their image of World War II was and where it actually was is very two different things. I think eventually just gameplay will win out, and it will it'll get fixed to where.
I think the problem with the World War II gameplay aesthetic they've been going for is Hollywood.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. That's basically
it's not World War. It's not wanting to do World War II.
It's the Flying Aces or whatever you want to call it.
It's the Flying Aces. Or it's Battle of Britain, German bombers being fighting, but it's not where turrets were in the end. It's what Hollywood has depicted bombers in World War II were like.
A big thing coming up in chat, which is obviously something I want to talk about, is the I guess it's going to become an argument, I think, but the nutcrackers versus the changing the manufacturers. Now, I would much rather, it doesn't need to be the nutcrackers, but I like the unique look of the engines of that ship, but I don't like them because they look like nutcrackers. I just like them because they look different. But my whole thing is, I actually would be much prefer it to change manufacturers than to make it look like every other Aegis ship.
I said on the captain's on Paul Shelley's captain's table that I actually suggested Kruger Intergalactic.
Yep. What's some other stuff there?
Well,
Asparia.
Right. Okay.
Kruger. But Asparia has not been done by Intergalactic.
Okay. No. Yeah. Because I was saying
Kruger Intergalactic did the P-52 and the P-72.
Right.
The P-52 they built to show as a proof of concept that we can build spaceships around a weapon.
That'd be really cool.
That's all they've got. They're a weapons manufacturer.
Yeah, I get you. So it's like a new. Just hear me out if I'm wrong. So it's like a new ship that they've made, and it's like new engines and all that because they're new. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I like
and because they're a weapons manufacturer, it can have weapons coming out the wazoo.
And those Merlins are very stylish, and it's got some really nice curves. I can see that translating into a bigger ship. So and it also explain why it's like a one-off bigger ship.
And you don't need to explain the style guide because there is no style guide for Asperia apart from the snub ships. And so,
are you mean Kruger? When I was jumping in there, I was like, no, the other one to go with. I don't see Kruger. I see Asperia because alien. It's totally alien. It's not even.
Who buy? What human aliens? That's the only thing. Unless Asperia was deciding they wanted to make a human-based ship, I could see that. I guess.
Well, remember that if you read their lore, and if I have this correct in my head, not only did they do Alien, but they also did former odd designs that never really got made.
Oh, okay. And then they moved. And then they moved into that.
I could have seen when they were talking about the Tavaran ships coming. I actually postulated that one way to explain those nutcrackers would have been to say these are Tavaran engine style or engine systems.
One of the other ones brought up in chat was Consolidated Outland.
They're not military.
That was actually one Farasol suggested as well.
I can see the idea of it, and the only reason, like you said, non-military. The thing that kind of contradicts that only slightly in my head is the Delta. But then the question is, why does it have God, I'm tongue-tied. Radically different engines.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I can't believe. Yeah. Where with the Asperia, I can believe it because they've borrowed it from Tavaran or whoever they borrowed it for. But the Kruger one's the one that really I like. I really like that idea that we're going to try and make a big ship because we're a weapons manufacturer. So this thing's just covered in weapons.
Yeah, and they can say, hey, we showed you we can build a ship with the P-52. Here's our first big ship. So that to me works.
Roland, that does not roll off the tongue. Roland Rob Black says in chat, Redeemer as escort for Prowler. I think it's an escort for any of the dropships. They kind of mentioned that back when they were talking about the Valkyrie during the holiday sale. So it's going to help you get down to the ground. I could see that going down with a bunch of dropships so they can drop their stuff off and it just keeps everything off them.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was just pulling this up, and I'm dropping a link in here. If you read this, it specifically mentions for Asperia, just going back to that they actually originally were designing specifically rebuilding ships from lost blueprints. It doesn't have to be alien. So there's
you reckon it?
Yep.
It
could work ships. It definitely could work as a lost blueprint ship, definitely. But I'd like to see a ship other than.
So probably, I'm just looking. I just got a link from Grey Matter about the statement. It says no holiday live stream this year that I'm aware of. It's probably not a live stream. Then it's probably pre-recorded like last year. I highly doubt they would give us nothing, but hey, they might.
You never know.
We could be completely wrong, but we'll wait and see, I guess. There's got to be at least another ship there somewhere. Any other ships there, guys, that anyone in chat wants to talk about? Any questions that you have? Any concerns? Now is the time because we're going to start to wrap up. Is there any other ships that you guys can think of that you wanted to get off your chest?
No, not Starfarer, the Starlifter's not really being worked on at the moment. That's a long way off.
Someone's mentioning the Prowler in chat. I think the really unique thing with the Prowler is the bottoming out type of dampening thing. Like it's a dropship to kind of get onto other ships, because you could kind of land on the top of another ship like that and just have all the troops pile out onto the side of it and then go into the ship through holes or vents or whatever.
Yep. It also feels to me like a hover tank. Like it goes down, drops your troops off, and then can support your infantry with that huge cannon.
I don't know, holiday live stream this year, maybe. All right, maybe it's a pre-recorded video. I'd be really surprised if they don't show off some.
That's not on here.
What's wrong?
Okay, I was just trying to get the chat up, because I can only see it at the moment as being very minuscule.
Oh, sorry. Is it too tiny?
And it is very tiny.
I've got really bad eyes and I can read it. So.
And I was trying to find the chat on.
Yep. So
but,
I think the Prowler.
I thought I found it, and I saw someone ask a question about did we still like the Avenger, and I was going to say yes.
Oh yeah, still our favourite starter. Someone's mentioning the Prowler's biggest drawback is its range, and it's probably going to be the same thing with the Redeemer. I actually really do find that Redeemer will definitely escort dropships 100%, but I think the other part is it would probably be, like, it's originally designed to be on the Javelin. Like, it's designed to make people back off. And if you can put it on a Javelin, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but I'm pretty sure it'll fit on the Idris as well, won't it?
No.
Sure,
No,
I don't think so.
Because of the height.
Roger. Well, if it changes, it might though. So.
Well, it's the difference between the raise up. You raise it up a ship versus you have to be able to fly it within a narrow, confined space.
Yep. But if it sits, it fits. So I don't know.
Well, it might sit, but it might fit, but it mightn't fit.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
So it fits on the landing pad, but not out the door.
Sergeant Teddy, yeah, I think it will be scary in the right hands, the Prowler. If you can land that on a ship and get in silently, it'll be like a bunch of ninjas raiding a castle type of thing.
I remember the lore story about the Tavaran who got inside the cruiser or battleship or whatever it was, and they were just running havoc, just wrecking up the systems on the ship.
And they did that multiple times. They even captains, even in safe space, were freaking out enough to have multiple security details.
That Clockwork guy, and I'm just summarizing his question here, is pretty much asked stuff we've talked about before. But do we think there'll be other Polaris-sized capital ships? So Hammerhead, Polaris. So I'll say yes, because I know what you guys are thinking.
Hands down.
Hands down. The one we've talked about that we would like to see is something that's tailored more at large ships. So we currently have the Polaris that's a capital ship killer. We've currently got the Hammerhead that's a fighter killer. The last space there in that small capital class or corvette class is something that can kill larger ships like, say, the Constellation type of size. I don't know what that would be, whether it's like a missile boat ship or what. Or
I see
even that EMP ship we talked about. That could be you could have an E-warfare corvette class ship. You know, there's you can do whatever you want, and it really comes down to what CIG want to do in that space.
And what they feel is missing.
Well, again, I still think it'd be interesting to have a ship that is corvette size, but instead is more of a mid turrets, like less turrets but much larger size guns, because that would be like, oh, Constellation, boom boom, gone, instead of having to whittle at it with a lot.
Flight of the Flightless says, can you land an Apollo on a Kraken? If so, medbay problem solved. Yeah, you can land it and you'll be able to get on it. You've also got the docking collar, so I don't know, does the Apollo have a docking collar?
Does the what have a docking collar?
The Apollo, does it have a dock? Can't remember. But yeah, you'll definitely be able to get between the Kraken and an Apollo. Easily.
Actually, one thing I was thinking of, can't remember where I saw it, but someone was talking about the Endeavour and the landing pad
Yep.
with a hospital ship, and I was thinking, why not have a landing, not the hangar, but have a landing pad on top of the hospital, like
Yeah. Like a
the heli landing
That
pad we
makes
have.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So you could actually get it in for really quick
That actually makes a lot of
access.
sense. The more you say it, the more it makes sense.
And then you could opt not to have the hangar,
They
but
actually said that.
your hospital still works. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, actually, they also said that that's probably going to be one of the last ships made. Which is really good because I'm a big fan of the Endeavour. Like it would, if I could see more of it, it'd probably be my favourite. The more I hear of it, the more you run it through your head, the more it's just that one ship to rule them all type of thing. It does so much things.
One thing I wouldn't mind seeing, and it was it was either Paul Shelley. I think Paul Shelley said it, and it'd be nice to see the command module of the Caterpillar sold separately, and the cab of the Endeavour sold separately.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go through. I just want to. Sorry, finish what I was going to say.
No, finished.
There's questions about the Corsair in chat. Now we've said a couple of times, so I'm going to go through a couple of things here. We actually kind of think the Corsair is the Star Runner. That's why we didn't see it. We also think it changed manufacturer. We saw that with other ships this year. And we also think there's too many Explorer ships, and that's probably why it became a Data Runner. But that said, if it did come out, we heard things of it. If you read the original description, blurb, that's it, had more gun turrets than the Constellation. So basically it was kind of like a cross between a gunship / Explorer. When you say Drake Explorer, I'm exploring other people's spaceships. I'm not exploring. Right? Just you got to remember it's Drake.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And looking at the way Drake seem to do their ships, like they've got the Cutlass, and everything else is just a mishmash version of a Cutlass, engines, etc.
Yeah.
Wouldn't rule it out that we haven't seen it though. That was the last thing I was going to say. But we may see it. But looking at the other two things, I think it's the Star Runner. I really, really we never ever heard about the Star Runner at all, and it was the only ship that hasn't been shown. So
and it was a data runner, which is what the Corsair was kind of billed as being as well. So
it fit everything. That was there, including that little illicit smuggling hold.
Just really quick, Zen asked, will the price of the Redeemer go up after the design is more nailed down? And someone replied to him, Tycoon Dorado replied, very, very likely, and I agree. It's very, very likely. Anything that's in concept, they go up. We've seen it on everything.
Yeah.
It goes up by $5 or $50 or $100.
Once upon a time it was concept, increase it, hangar ready, increase it, flight ready. And then they got to the point where I just going concept to flop.
Yeah.
And the price goes up. It's one of those things you can, bet your life on and know you're not going to lose. And you watch, it's not going to go up now just because I've said that.
No, it's.
I actually hope it doesn't go up because, personally speaking, it'd be nice to actually see something in that size still. There's not enough ships, in my opinion, in that size or cost range.
Yeah, I think it's a sweet spot, but I think it won't drastically go up price. Like I think the most you're going to see a ship go. Well, let's have a look at it. Let's look at the Eclipse. Now the Eclipse came in at about 275, wasn't it when it came in? And it currently ended at 300, if I'm mistaken. So there's a $25 jump. If this comes in at 250, it'll probably go out at 275. Let's be honest. That's what I'm kind of expecting.
And I've always thought that the Redeemer was kind of a, it seemed to have a firepower that it could take on a Connie, and that's about the same price range.
Just sort of a ship we totally forgot about when I cut Dyson off. Can you remember what it was, Dyson? Maybe I should just not do it because then you'll forget. It starts with B and ends with Anu.
Oh, Bene Worshipman. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And
so we better talk about that. Purely based for me is on that video I linked for Matt in chat a while ago. They have some really fantastic art in that, and it makes the entire ship of the Defender look organic, like it's a skeletal, almost grown organic. And when I use my head and kind of run that out, it's like this beast of a man. It almost reminds me of that. It was a TV show filmed in Australia, really popular in the States, and it had Jim Henson puppets in it, and the guy farted helium. I can't remember the name, but you know what the one I'm talking about. Farscape.
I know.
Farscape. That's it. So it reminds me of Farscape a lot, and I think you're going to get a Farscape vibe now from the Banu Merchantman. And I think I just
I could see the Banu Merchantman picking up Vorlon vibes as well from B5.
Yep, that as well.
Yeah.
So any of those organic-y type ships. The skeletal structure does also remind me of Aliens.
I was going to say Prometheus when you think about the just the shape of it too. Kind of has that.
Someone in chat said, I'm surprised that the Atlas Novaro said the BMM hasn't increased, which is surprising. I think once they start modelling it next year, I think next anniversary sale, that's going to increase in price.
But hadn't it already? Oh, you mean the price? Yes.
The reason why, more than it has. The reason why I think that is ships this year, like the Orion. Now, we knew the Orion was going to grow in size last year, but once they started modelling, you know how they did a bit of grey boxing, it increased again this year, right? And that thing is a behemoth. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes up again, but I think it's a little bit like the Reclaimer, where it doesn't require that many people to operate, but it is just a physically large ship due to what it's doing. And I think the size of ships don't really 100%. What's the cost? Go to cost. I'm trying to word that. Equate is the word I was looking for. Equate to cost.
I'm still expecting it to eventually hit the point where it's going to be non-CCable to anything, because if it's going to have a hangar in it, its size of cargo, the alien tax added on top of all that, I would not be surprised.
It's already. I thought originally it was going to be about the size of a Corvette, but it's now way beyond that. It's now sitting, I reckon, close to frigate. It's close to an Idris. It's a Banu Idris.
Ty Conderoda says, wouldn't it be cool if the Banu ships could auto repair if they were truly organic? I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Then Infalix also mentions all the Alien or Predator movie ships. That is true as well. I get that dank organic vibe for some reason. You know, when they always have the alien ships and they're always like dank and misty to kind of keep the ship alive type of thing. And another one in chat, which probably will be an unpopular opinion, I don't know, I could be wrong. Atlas Navarro says, unpopular opinion, I'm not a huge fan of the organic look. That said, from my point of view, we don't have any other ship that's like that. Most of the ships are human, and I would even say, like, it catches me a little bit like StarCraft. You know how you got the humans, or the Terrans? You've got the Protoss. Yeah, I was having a brain fart. Protoss is a high-level tech, like the Zion, and then you've got the Zerg, which is a little bit like the Banu, which are a bit more organic.
I actually feel like the Vandal are a little bit more of the Zerg style.
That's like probably true. But they're more cyborg. They're kind of like a mix between the two. They're kind of like got that organic mixed in with the techie blades, like primal futuristic. It's kind of like cavemen that have found an aeroplane and they've sharpened the blade of the aeroplane into a sword. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of what I get from the Vandal. Like you remember. Sorry to interrupt, Albert, but you remember those knives they showed off, and one of them was an actual human blade that had been repurposed into a Vandal blade. Yeah, they're a bit scavengeristic, and I know the Banu are scavengers as well, but I think
they're not as much scavengers as we buy.
I was going to say that Banu are scavengers, so they'll use whether they literally scavenge or they look at something and go, ooh. Yeah. Let's steal that tech.
Yeah, whatever's the best. They just take whatever's the best.
They just steal, beg, borrow, destroy, capture, whatever, but they take the best and they copy it and use it.
Yep.
So,
I'm just reading chat. Sorry, Atlas Navarro. So Tokonderedo is saying, I agree. I do not like it so much either, but they will be something very good ships, bang for the buck at the moment. Also, they're unique and will be difficult to get in game. I think the more variety we have in ships is kind of what I was trying to say before when I was saying the different things. The more variety we have, the more people are going to place. But if the Banu's not for you, then I'm sure there's something else that'll be to your taste.
I'm surprised.
Unless he's really upset that he likes the idea of the Banu, he just doesn't like the look of the Banu, then it sucks to be you. That's the only.
Ben, look for a different alien race.
Maybe the whole E or D might be.
Maybe the Xeon, because we have no clue what
we don't know what a Xeon merchant ship
goes
looks like.
to.
Yep, and they're guaranteed to have one. I think everyone's. Got
Well,
one.
we know that they've got more ships coming, but we haven't seen.
Yeah.
I hope.
I'm trying to think of a Vandal cargo ship, and all I can think of is like a hearse.
Remember the train?
I'm thinking
It's just a body
the
ship.
Harvester. The Harvester
Yeah.
is their cargo ship. It rips everything up and takes it away.
Vandal train ship.
Potentially. Banu Mensch Mandarin Defender docking. Yeah, it's something I'm really looking forward to as well. I think every one of us has a Banu and a Defender, as in a Merch Mandarin Defender.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It'll
At least.
Oh, well, after today, yeah. Well, it's on your cards though now, so that's fine. No, sorry, F-Flax. I was actually thinking more like just heaps of bodies in the back because they seem to harvest people, but I could be wrong. All right. I don't think we've got any more ships that I can think of to go over, unless you guys have got any topics you want to go to. I'll put questions out to chat. We've been doing this for a bit over an hour now, so.
And I'm thinking of bed personally.
Yeah,
I'm thinking I need water because.
I could go a beer myself, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, that too.
A Banu scavenger ship, I could totally see that.
Yeah, kind of like that. The one I want to see, but it won't work. And I always when I think of Banu, I always think of the in Fifth Element, the Chinese guy that had that boat that pulled up and gave takeaway away. I always think of him as a Banu. I don't know why, but I do. But yeah, some kind of little scavenger ship, like you got the Vulture, but like a Banu version, and he's just got all this stuff hanging, all these bits of things that he's found while he's been going around. So.
That would be interesting, because it'd be really interesting to actually have a ship in the size that we were originally promised. Not this huge ship, but something a little bit more scaled down.
I think, though, with the Banu, you're not going to see a lot of ships, and I think that's... I don't like law to dictate, but I think law dictates this game a fair bit more than most, because the Banu tend to make one thing and they make it really, really well. I don't think we'll sell any other fighters because I think their whole thing is all about trade. Their whole economy, their whole law is trade. So the
they are the Ferengi on.
Yeah, in a nutshell. And then the Defender is only there because it's designed to defend that one other ship. They don't tend to. People don't tend to pick on them because they're traders. If you fight with a trader, you just won't get any shit. Even the Vandal
you may get them once, but they'll never come back to you.
Exactly.
And I think that the even on the Matrix, which is always wrong, the Banu Defender is listed as a light fighter compared to the Santoki A, which is a medium fighter, and you compare their stats and their components are exactly the same. Apart from the engines and fuel scoops, which the Defender has more, I can't really see the Defender being a light fighter. I think it's actually really a medium fighter.
I 100% agree.
And I think it's...
Well, put it this way, it's got...
I think if you rename it, like its role is, escort Defender, it solves that problem.
It's called a light fighter. It's got the same components. Half the components are the same as the Santoki Eye, and it's got the same weapons as the Saber. So it's either the only reason I can think it'd be called a light fighter is it's as nimble as a light fighter, but it's as deadly as a medium fighter. So the best of both worlds.
It's also maybe the lightest, just right on the edge of being a light and a medium fighter. Because it seems to me like it's still fairly small for everything it's got.
Yeah.
And if that's the case,
fairly small. It's got living quarters. It's got crew. It's got.
I'm reading a chat message from Caleb who says, "Law dictates game can't carry cargo on Valkyrie," and then laughs. Look, I Most games don't let lore dictate, but for some reason this game has a huge, massive writing team from the day one, and I think it does. You've heard it in the designs. They send it off to the design team, and they get the lore team to write a reason to fit that. So that's at least going in the right direction, where it goes design then lore, but usually it just goes design, and then they get it all working, and they go, oh, by the way, writers, make this work. So. It's just they're one step before where they should be, in my personal opinion. Mr. JR, Suntucky worth the pickup. Best fighter in the game on paper at the moment, but best all-round fighter is probably still the Defender. It just if you're talking about pure killing, Santoki, if you're talking about all-round and being able to do more with your fighter than just being a fighter, the Defender. I think I'll leave.
My question is,
I think with the new flight model, the Santoki and the Cartel will both excel. They'll have that 6-degree movement. They will be absolute beasts.
They'll be able to turn faster at the very least.
Yep.
You know,
the
everything else
Defender,
is going to drift slightly.
The Defender, because it's got the Xeon engines, even though it's still more thrust-driven, I think it's still going to be more developable.
Hang on, can you still buy the Santoki?
yes.
Ooh, okay. Sorry, someone in chat just said, I've got one sitting in cart, needed some advice. Look, if it comes down to you, dude, at the end of the day, what do you want to do with it? I didn't get one for two reasons. If they've got a light fighter in the Cartier and they've got a medium fighter in the Santoki, where's the heavy fighter? And I already have a Defender, and I'm not big on fighters. We are not big on fighters in general here on this show. We are more...
Except for Alien.
Yeah, Alien sometimes, but I'm being generalistic here. We usually recommend people sell their fighter because later on, $1,000 ship now is going to be worth so much more when it's released, where $100 ship here, like say you had 10 $100 ships, they're not going to be as valuable as that one $1,000 ship. We recommend consolidating, basically. To give you an example, I myself was very tempted to buy the Master Set. It's about $1,000. And I took myself out of it because, again, it was a bunch of $100 items that would basically only ever really kind of be roughly round about $100. Where if I say bought a $1,000 ship like a Pioneer, it would be worth a lot more once the game goes live. And Chris has said that multiple times. So if you want bang for your buck, buy big. That all said, what we generally recommend to people is buy a starter ship or buy one ship you like, and that is it. You do not need any more than that. Yep. There are so many crazy people like us already.
You don't need to be a crazy owl.
Yeah, that have got so many ships. It's just not worth it. Like you just find someone that's got lots of ships, or even if they've just got one ship. Look at an Idris. Like I keep talking myself out of buying that thing all the time because I'm like, I can't. Well, how many people does it take now? 20? 25? What? How many people?
Way too many people, and
I can't get 25 people on a raid on World of Warcraft. How am I going to get 25 people on to fly a ship and sit there bored?
With the Idris K, all the plus, the P pluses, I like.
You're detracting from my point, by the way. I'm trying to generalize here, just so you're.
But the fact that you put the fact that you get remote turrets on that is actually reducing the crew numbers. So I actually think they're trying to pull down that required person playability. And the other question is, in relation to what they were saying last time at the stream, at the RTV yesterday, is when you talk solo, there's solo and solo. The solo of me being all by myself playing the game, and the solo me playing by myself with a whole pile of NPC. And that's a big criteria I think there's there. And what do we mean when we start talking solo?
Look, we've said this so many times before. When we recommendations on this show, we recommend them based purely on what is best for a generalized group of people. And generally speaking, bigger is better because you're going to get more bang for your buck. Overall, if I was just talking ship gameplay, I think the best ships are going to be those medium ships, of which we have not seen a lot. I do want to move on to something.
And if you can only afford one packet and you want a base packet, then we recommend the Avenger.
That's it.
As a starter pack.
Titan specifically, $60, I think it is US. There's a question that's been coming up in chat a little bit by Paul Mitchell. He thinks he's one of the only people that are interested in 325A. Look, of all the Origin ships, it's the only one I'm interested in because it's the only combat variant. We talked about this on the holiday sale day. I really like the new look of the 300 and kind of transferring that look from 325A to 300. I think the 300 series is going to be a real winner. I think a lot of people are going to really love that, the look and the style and the smooth curves of it.
And it may be the only Origin class of ship that doesn't waste so much space.
And it's not a waste of money either, because you're only paying $10 to most people is nothing.
Well, it's the perfect fighter when you think about it for someone starting out that's not going to get one of the big ones, because it has good firepower. It has a bed, so you can log out somewhere, and you can have enough cargo to do box missions or jump down runs or things like that.
Depending on the cost when it comes out, we may actually have 2 ships we recommend.
Yep. Exactly. I was thinking exactly. I was thinking exactly the same thing, Agrid. My question that always plays in my back of my mind was going to do the 100, because the 100 is not even really out yet, and it seems like it's a waste of bloody space.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch the 100.
Like we've already gone recommending the Avenger, so everything that's under the Avenger is just a waste, as far as I'm concerned. Like, if you've spent that amount of money to get the game and get to that point, you're getting a bare minimum. If you've only got to spend an extra $15, it's $45, and then it's an extra $15, I think, to get to the Avenger.
No, it's actually more, because you have the best ship you get is it's 20, because you get a Mustang.
But what you get for that $20 is a huge jump, and I wouldn't say Avenger will become not redundant, because I think it will eventually become redundant, but you're going to go so much further and have so many more choices. Like, at the moment, you don't know what gameplay is what, right?
Yeah.
So you've got your bounty hunter, you've got your cargo, and you've got combat. When you go back to the other ships, you might have 2 of those. So you're essentially kind of getting a Mustang and an Aurora merged together when you buy the Avenger, but you're also getting bounty hunting. You don't get that with the other 2.
I just never understood why that wasn't the ship that they plugged, because the daily it's the starter ship that's even when you leave, it's because
they don't want everyone using the one ship, dude. It's that simple.
Yeah, so that's the thing I found frustrating on those live streams.
So one person at a time. Go.
I was just saying it's because, like, the Aurora is the only one of all the starter ships that, in my opinion, is worth it, because the Mustang is useless. It's not a good entry-level fighter.
I honestly see people go between the 2. I think it really comes down to what you're doing. I know you're going to say the Aurora because of the bed, but I also think the Omega's a better fighter, and it also still does cargo. And I know the Aurora does cargo, and it's a fighter, but it's not as good a fighter as... See what I mean?
It actually has better hard points.
Yeah, and then what if you totally get rid of the cargo and take the beta? See what I mean? Like, there's some because, and I know
the thing is the beta's more, and you at that point in time you're in the same territory of just getting a
same thing with the Delta. I think the Delta is exactly the same. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's exactly the same price as the Avenger, but I'd have to go recheck it. It's been a while.
It has worse hard points, though. I mean, there's no way that it competes.
Look, K Seth in there has mentioned $5 for an LN upgrade. The LN is the best of the Auroras. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But I still think for the money, like if you're talking about money and what you're going to get out of a ship, the Avenger is impossible to look past.
I think the Avenger leaves it is far better than an Aurora. I like the Aurora.
I think everyone in chat... Everyone in chat is chucking out different things. I can see it coming out. Like, this is a really heated debate. But I think everyone will agree there is when you get to the Avenger, you either go over and they become more expensive and they don't really gain much, or they don't have enough underneath. And I think the Avenger is just in that completely sweet spot. And if they end up making those pieces modular, like able to put the Warlock part into the back, you get a 4th thing as well.
I don't see them doing that.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do that. I'm just saying if they do. That's why I said if.
I think if they do the modular selling of ships, the customization of ships at sale, having the bulk, having the base Avenger thing, and then putting the components in, I could see them being able to buy your Warlock at that point. But it'll be the base components that you get rather than, I hope, the top of the line ones.
Look,
but
I'm gonna really break this down because I've thought about this a fair bit. If I was going into the game, this is me as a generalized person, I would think about what I want to do in the verse, what the gameplay is I want to play, and who I want to do it with, and I would use that to dictate what I want to do. Obviously, the other part would be my finances. But if money's no object, that is how I would look at this. I would talk to my friends. I would get together. And why do you have to pay for all the shit? Why don't you get together and, you all get starters, and then maybe you buy a fifth account and you buy one chip like a Constellation or whatever it is that you want to do that you play together. And I think that is what you need to do. You need to find out who you're going to play with and what you're going to be doing. If you're a soloist, then you just get a single ship that you love.
I'm actually surprised they don't actually have that system in game for like orgs to have ships.
I'm surprised they don't have it already, where you can, if you have 3 other people on your friends list as an example, that you can all go, we want to put in money and buy a Constellation, and then basically, so they all buy, that they get a starter ship, they can pick which starter they get for the 45, and it evenly divides the funds between the thing and says you own 1/4 of a Constellation. I think it would be a no-brainer, but the reason why they don't is they make more money, because they're hoping people will all buy a Constellation. It just comes back to that.
It just makes sense that you could have that pooling effect, and then basically what happens is you get back what you put into it. So let's say the org dissolves, you get back what you put into it, or something like that, and that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, I think that we'll have troubles once we get to the fact that the cash, the UEC, there you go, is stuff we can make in game. So if I've put real money in, and then I've also put UEC in, how does that? If the org dissolves, what happens? How does that work? And I think
you just get back what you put into it. Like the org dissolves, you get, let's say you put X amount into the Connie, you get X amount back, and you can do what you see fit with that. But it just makes sense that you could do that, because then you have people being able to do these professions without having to worry about, well, one person gets the ship and it's always their ship.
Zan mentions in chat that he's linked his Banu Merchantman upgrade to his Connie Andromeda because he doesn't think the Common Andromeda will change in price. He's correct. It's in game. Usually once they're in game, they tend to be very stable in price. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Andromeda's about $275 at the moment. So I think you'll be...
think so.
Yeah, you'll be safe on that. Grey Matter 53 asks, are the bucks for the Vanguard like 3 different Vanguards with the base warden? They answered that yesterday, but Ari, do you want to take that one?
Basically,
if you know that is, I'm sure you do.
Basically, the bucks are going to become physical items, so you'll have the mid component, and you'll be able to swap and change between them.
Yep, and the skin.
You will need
the skin's the other thing.
The paint job.
Yeah, the paint job.
But you'll need to have storage space in your hangars to. They'll actually be physical items. So
I actually melted my warden, but I still held onto the bucks. They are worth a lot at the moment. I got a $25 Sentinel buck, and they're selling for like $125 on the black market. So there are people that definitely want them.
I may have to unmelt all my bucks. That's the case.
My concern with all of this is, what is everything going to equate to an in-game cost? And I'm just going to say this:
we're already seeing that. Just to answer your question a bit, where we've got the what the hell was it?
M50 is a good example of it.
No, there was a really awesome example. I think it was like the Cyclone and the Nox or something, or something like that. But there was
Cyclone
one
and Dragonfly.
Yeah, there was the Dragonfly is literally like $50, and the Cyclone's like $40 or something like that. But in game, the Dragonfly is cheap as chips, and the Cyclone's more expensive. But in real world terms, they're the opposite. I can't remember. I can't remember which one
it's the M50 and the 85X. If you look at them, they're actually very close.
It might be that, but I literally remember someone talking about the Dragonfly and the Cyclone. So,
and it was interesting.
Probably multiple things.
It was interesting. They were talking, I think it was yesterday, about the price of ships as well. And it was basically we put the ships at this value of where we want them to be, and then we adjust everything else in the middle rather than going.
There you go. There. Klesh just said it in chat. The other way around. Cyclone's 25 AUC and the Dragonfly 75 AUC. That blows my mind. And yet,
The Cyclone seems like
the
it'd be
Cyclone costs more than the Dragonfly. It blows my mind. But obviously, it's because the Cyclone's a car and the Dragonfly's a hover bike, so it probably has more expensive technology.
I hope they change that to some degree because it just makes there's
And I'd
more
take
stuff.
I'd take the Cyclone any day of the week over the Dragonfly. More cargo, 2 people, blah 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 blah.
Well, I mean the cost of it because like it seems to me like when you look at it, the Aurora, you're better off instead of doing that, just getting an Aurora, selling the Aurora in game when you can, and then picking up your ground vehicle.
And having cash left over.
Yep.
But yeah, I
think any more questions? Wait, here's a hard question I'm struggling with. This is from Zen. If I have a Phoenix, should I use an upgrade I picked for $0 to go to a Carrick? It would cost me anything, but it is a Phoenix. Now, I know my response to that, but I'm pretty sure Algrid's going to agree with me. Would you agree with me, Algrid?
I'm pretty certain, based on the Carrick, I would definitely.
Yeah.
I think. But if you're still uncertain, if you're hoping beyond hope that they fix the Phoenix,
if you've got the CC,
sit on
it. Yeah.
Sit on it, and you've got it there to change if they don't fix the Carrick. If the Phoenix, I had a couple of Phoenixes. I've got CCUs for each of them. I haven't applied them yet because I'm hoping beyond hope that they will fix it. And the reason I haven't applied them is they're in packages, and if I apply them, it's just an absolute bitch to undo because I've got other CCUs I've applied which I actually love.
I think that's a general thing there, Algrid. You've kind of hit it on. Any ships that are in trouble. So to give you an example, I have 2 Hammerheads and I have 2 upgrades to Polaris's, just for that reason, because I'm a bit worried where that turret gameplay is sitting. So it's
and currently,
bases.
if you've got a Hammerhead and you're not sure, get that CCU to the Polaris because
it's too late now. It's too late now.
Oh, what a shame.
But yeah, it was $25. Like, it's a no-brainer. I actually had one from last year from a Hammerhead to a Polaris. That was $100. I melted it and then brought 2 and then used the 50 credits elsewhere. So
it's because I think we'll see once the Polaris comes out, it's going to go up in price.
I 100% agree with what Atlas just said there, and I think you will too, Algrid. I love the Phoenix, but I can't justify it, and that is
that's right.
Whole aesthetic for Origin in a nutshell. I like it. I just can't justify it. I cannot justify cost based on it's meant to be prettier. Like, that's like going, I prefer pink, and this ship is blue, so I've got to pay a premium because it's pink. You sometimes go on Amazon, to give you an example, the more popular the colour, the more it costs. And that, to me, is ludicrous.
Well, that's with cars, because if you look at selling value, there is an interesting fact that you can take some of those cars that are selling different value for their color, buy them up, repaint them, and to turn around and actually make a profit.
Exactly. It's artificial scarcity.
And I look at the Phoenix, and based on what it's got, what we've nerfed it down to in terms of like missiles down to from size 2 to size 1, power plants, weapon sizes, you name it, they've ripped the guts out of it. You compare it to a Taurus.
Yep.
And I'm not saying, it's got the same number of turrets. I know the Phoenix has 2 turrets. It's always had 2 turrets. If anyone tells you it only had 1, they're a moron.
Yep.
Always had 2 turrets. It's supposed to have a PDS turret as well.
Yep.
But I reckon the Taurus is a better ship than the Phoenix at the moment.
Yep. Oh, cost alone, isn't it almost you can get... Yeah. What's the price of the Phoenix?
You could almost get 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, which is ludicrous.
And that's insane. It's stupid.
Well,
you're going to make, no matter how fancy a fucking ship is, you're going to make more money. Well, I could be wrong. Unless they charge you out the arse but seriously, if I'm a VIP, I'm going to go on a 300. I'm not going to go on a Phoenix.
I'm not going to go on a Winnebago.
A 300.
Winnebago. Yeah, I like that. The Winnebago. Look, when you're using the 2 Tauruses, you got 2 ships doing the money. If you happen to lose one, you only lose 1. You know, safety in numbers. Everything in the math speaks towards there's something wrong with the Phoenix.
But in terms of that question that really spawned it was, I've got a Phoenix. I've got an upgrade to the Carrick. what do you want to do? And if you're more focused on exploration, then the Carrick's definitely the option. I wouldn't even worry about the Phoenix in that regard.
What Tycho Underoda told you there, Zen, is 100% correct, by the way. If you melt CCUs when you buy them back, they change their value.
Yeah.
So whatever their current value is. It's the same thing with original concept ships. If you say bought it at $250 and they've put up the price of the ship, it's whatever the new value of the ship is. And I had that myself. When I rebought the Redeemer, it had gone up by $10. So
I thought if you had the ship itself, you were good. Not
nope.
the.
That must have changed.
Anything in buyback is now. I could be wrong, unless it was the Aussie tax, because that
it's the Aussie tax.
10%
The Aussie tax
might be the GST for me. I didn't really think of that.
Because maybe CCUs.
Yeah, it's the Aussie tax because if you bought them with credits, they're the same price.
Yep. Well, I brought about $200 worth of it. I had to put $80 towards it.
And because you had to put cash in it, you had to pay the GST.
Grey Matt is asking, Taurus now only has one turret. I think it still has two
Taurus
turrets.
Taurus only ever had one turret.
It's only had one. It has
only had the dorsal turret. The bottom turret is its hidden cargo safe.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right. I haven't read a lot on the Taurus, so cargo is not my thing.
And the Taurus doesn't have a P-52 either because the cargo bay is so long. Where the cargo bay goes, you'd actually be knocking off the nose of the P-52 every time you lowered the landing bay.
So again, I'm just going to come back to
bail out.
Yep, I think we're going to wrap up here anyway. But like the gameplay, you need to know what gameplay you want to do. Is all I'm going to end that on. Is there any final questions, final thoughts from you two? What time is it there, Dyson?
It's 1:18.
You featherweight. Right. I need that image, the featherweight champion one we did for the Vultures.
Look, just put a Carrick picture over Dyson and he can disappear. And if people still have questions, we could deal with them. And Dice Falkring.
I could turn it on like that, by the way. Look, I think that's about it. If you guys have got any questions, I'm going to jump into Discord. I'll be there for the next little bit. If no one turns up, I'm going to go do something else. I don't know if Algo will join me, but
I'll join for a little bit. But
yep, if no one turns up, we'll head off. Other than that, I really enjoyed the sale this year. I really do hope they do not a live stream, but I hope they have something about Squadron 42.
A holiday stream.
Yeah, for the holiday. Yeah. For the holidays.
Well, I always thought they'd said they were going to do that.
I just assumed they were going to do it because they've never not done something. So,
but I actually thought they'd actually said there'll be something in December on Squadron 42.
Yeah, I thought that as well. So
that might be just me wishful thinking.
Well, they did say no live stream, so that doesn't mean something's not pre-recorded. So yeah. Discord. I'll drop in a link in now. Hold on, real quick. We'll be in this channel in general. Sorry, just give me a link. There we go. Here's Discord. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with the overlay. There we go. Did that go? Yep, sweet. Alright, other than that, we'll love you and leave you, and see you guys next time. Dyson should be off school next week, so hopefully we'll see Dyson a bit more over the summer, Australian summer. Christmas period, New Year's period. I need a more global time. Yeah, so good luck, Dyson, with your finals. We hope you do well. Otherwise, you've wasted all our bloody time and not been here all year.
That's right.
That's all we care about. But no, I think you'll do well. And yeah, I've got my fingers crossed for you, buddy. All right. Other than that, that's been Dyson. That's been Old Man Algrid or Crazy Owl, and I've been Execute. And we'll catch you guys
later. Take care.
Night? It's afternoon. I haven't even had dinner yet.